When you say a composer that doesn't orchestrate, what does that mean? Because for me, that doesn't compute.
Well,
It's a composer who doesn't orchestrate.
A composer who might or might not be able to read music, and there've quite a few of those, or have been, and still are, who rely on orchestrators, and then the person up on the podium is not the composer. They may be the orchestrator, or they may not be either. So then, if there's a director who doesn't like what's going on, it's quite a performance too.
Okay, so let me just say, just to clarify, that there are some composers, James Newton Howard is one. James prefers not to conduct, and he uses orchestrators, but he does that only because he doesn't have the time to sit and fill out the scores and all this. I mean, he can do all that stuff. I mean, he's very well qualified. John Williams doesn't fill out the whole big page, but he presents something that is fully, he provides a short score that is fully, all the notes are named and who plays it. You know, I used to do the same thing. My sketch was basically a short score that copyists could just copy off of, and I prefer to conduct. Some composers who can conduct prefer not to conduct. But there are a lot of composers who can't conduct, and you hope will not conduct, and they hire somebody else who will be time for them. And then the other composers who really don't know enough about orchestration, but you know, they can write the music. That was a thing all the way back to Tiomkin and Franz Waxman and those guys. They all had orchestrators, and their music would be, you know, fabulous. The orchestration was fabulous, but their music was basically made by a piano player.
But like you said before, as long as it works with the picture, that's all that matters.
Yeah,
so that's the idea.
Yeah.
But if you're sitting in like I'm going to be in a rehearsal with an orchestra in a few months, and if that thing is not ready to go, if I can't just change it on the stand.
No.
You know, there's no way to do it. How would I do it? You know, they have these intricate parts, and I have maybe 20 minutes, 30 minutes per rehearsal. We have maybe 2 or 3 of those. And the concert, and it's performed in public. It's not going to be recorded,
right.
You know, for a picture. It's going to be played in front of a bunch of people, and you know, I can't just like change it on the spot. I wish that there was a way.
So it's balance, basically.
Yeah.
You have to balance would be the big thing, wouldn't it?
Well, I don't really know. I mean, that's the thing. Like it almost feels like there's no room for any change when I'm writing a piece, and I feel like the same thing when I look at your scores. And the Oboe Concerto, I think, is a good example of that, because I feel like the string theory piece, you can kind of move things around. It's easier with that piece, but with the Oboe Concerto, the way that it's formed with the 3 movements and the way that the arc, you can't really change. You can't really take a bar out here and do this, and okay, I want the horns to play that line. You can't really just copy paste it like that with a concert piece.
Yeah. So the other night, I had my premiere of a piece at Carnegie Hall. Okay, I've been in Carnegie Hall exactly once before that, and I heard a piano recital. Barenboim played a bunch of Beethoven. So I'd never heard an orchestra in there. So these were wind groups, wind symphonies. And the sound wasn't what I was expecting. It was very, very specific. So I'm not sure that, and they were big groups too, so I'm not sure that my piece, which I'd never heard live before, was scored exactly the way I'd like. Also, one of the problems with bands is you never know how many people are going to show up, right? So you write it for one bass clarinet and you've got 16 sitting there instead, you know. It kind of changes your balance. So I really couldn't tell between the acoustics in the room and, you know, the number of people in the group whether I had done the right thing or not. So you get to a symphony and you play it someplace like the Disney Hall in L.A. or here in New York, like Carnegie Hall or Houston. You know, pick places we've been, Cleveland, also. All those rooms are different, and the balance you get in one room is not going to be the balance you're going to get in another room. Plus, the conductors don't listen to it the same way, and the players don't play it the same way. So all the things that are at work on a concert piece are in some ways more daunting than what they are in a movie, because in a movie, you generally know where you're going to record. You know basically who's going to play it, and you have a pretty good idea of the conditions all around, you know, in the performance of it. It's also a very rigid performance. It has to be played like that at that tempo. Otherwise, it absolutely will not hit its mark.
And you're normally working in the same 2 or 3 rooms, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's not that many
Yeah.
halls that you play.
Right, like if I go to Fox, if we, like Belinda and I both have worked at Fox, sometimes together, sometimes not. I love that stage for the things that I do. Belinda, not so much, because
As a player,
violinist,
it's
yeah.
a bit dry
Yeah.
and bright.
But for me, I get this enormous high end. We did Silverado there, it's enormous high end, this really great, you got all the things going, but,
You like the clarity of it,
yeah,
isn't
I
that
like
right?
the clarity of
Yeah.
it, yeah.
Yeah.
And like
but you
the
know
Warner-
that. You know when you're writing the
Yes.
thing, it's kind of like
I
from the
wanted
moment
to
you get
record
hired.
that piece there because I knew that I would
Yeah.
get it to sound like that. Warner Brothers is a good stage, but there's kind of like this over the top end. It doesn't have the harmonics don't go all the way to the
Yeah.
sky.
Also, the engineers. That's
The
another
engineers
thing.
are
It's
very
like the
different.
conductor. They'll do their thing on top of it.
Yeah, the engineers are very different.